On February 24th, 1978, 5 friends drove to a college basketball game. By sunrise, they had vanished. 3 months later, 4 of them would be found dead in the Sierra Nevada. One of them survived for weeks inside a Forest Service trailer, surrounded by supplies. Yet he died of starvation.
And the 5th man was never found. Welcome back to the Redacted Files.
Five close friends are getting ready for what should have been an ordinary Friday night. Most of the group had mild intellectual disabilities. Gary Mathias lived with schizophrenia, but by 1978, doctors considered his condition stable. Nothing about that night suggests they're heading toward one of California's strangest unsolved mysteries. The store clerk remembers them because the group arrived just before closing, delaying her routine. This is the last confirmed sighting of all 5 men, alive. Back home, their Special Olympics uniforms are still laid out, waiting for a game that will never happen. She contacts the sheriff's department. According to family accounts, she's told to wait before filing a formal missing person report. Because somehow, they had gone in the opposite direction. 4 days pass. Then a forest ranger tells investigators something strange. He saw the group's car parked deep in the Plumas National Forest, 70 miles in the wrong direction. Snack wrappers, soda containers, and the basketball program from the game still inside. Investigators discovered the engine started without difficulty. The car still had fuel and showed no sign of mechanical failure. 3 months later, the mountain finally gives them back. But the answers never come. An abandoned car, 70 miles from where it should have been, and not a single clue about where its 5 passengers had gone. When investigators examined the Montego, one detail stood out immediately. Despite miles of rough mountain roads, the underside showed almost no damage. To Jack Madruga's family, none of it made sense. He disliked cold weather, rarely ventured into the mountains, and according to those closest to him, he never let anyone else drive his car. The car keys were missing. Investigators hot-wired the engine. It started immediately. This was the route home, straight across the valley. Instead, the Montego climbed deep into the Sierra Nevada, nearly 70 miles in the opposite direction. At roughly 4,400 feet above sea level, the car sat near the winter snow line, a place none of the families believed the group had any reason to visit. One possibility has been suggested for decades. Gary Mathias had acquaintances in the nearby town of Forbestown. Investigators wondered if the group had intended to visit them before somehow losing their way. As newspapers spread the story, investigators were overwhelmed with reported sightings. Hundreds of calls. Almost all led nowhere. Except 2 reports. 2 witnesses whose stories investigators could never completely dismiss. One witness claimed he wasn't alone on that mountain road. That same night, Joseph Shones drove into the mountains to check snow conditions before a planned family ski trip. His car became stranded just a short distance from where the Montego would later be found. As he struggled to free his vehicle, Shones began suffering what doctors later confirmed was a mild heart attack. Hours later, through the darkness, he noticed headlights and several figures in the distance. He would later tell investigators he believed one appeared to be a woman carrying a baby. He shouted for help, once, then again. Each time, the voices stopped and the lights disappeared. Investigators never found evidence linking a woman or baby to the Yuba County Five. Shones later admitted that because of his medical condition, he could not be certain of everything he remembered. For the families, however, the mystery never changed. They remained convinced their sons had not gone into the mountains willingly. Then came another report. A store clerk in Brownsville believed she had seen 4 of the missing men alive the following day, arriving in a red pickup truck. Police considered the witness credible. The store owner supported her account, but investigators could never confirm the sighting. Then, nothing. Weeks passed. Winter held the mountain in silence. It would be nearly 3 months before the snow finally revealed what had been hidden. June 1978. After 3 long months, the Sierra Nevada snow finally begins to melt. What searchers discover will only deepen the mystery. Nearly 20 miles beyond the abandoned Montego, a group of motorcyclists discovers a small Forest Service trailer hidden among the trees. One broken window suggests someone had forced their way inside. Inside the trailer, investigators make the first major discovery. The body is later identified as Ted Wire. Medical examiners concluded Ted had survived for nearly 3 months before succumbing to starvation and exposure. During that time, he lost almost half his body weight. Only a few steps away sat enough emergency food to sustain 5 men for nearly a year. A butane heating system, a working fireplace, everything needed to survive, yet almost none of it had been used. Curiously, investigators found evidence that 36 military ration meals had been opened instead. Whoever did it appeared to know exactly how to use a military-style can opener. Investigators also found a pair of sneakers inside the trailer. They didn't belong to Ted Wire. They belonged to Gary Mathias. Ted's own shoes were never recovered. Investigators believe Gary Mathias may have worn them after severe frostbite left him unable to wear his own. Ted's body had been carefully wrapped in several bedsheets. Investigators believed someone else had been with him during his final days. The following day, search teams discovered Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling along the mountain road, miles apart. Both had died from exposure to the freezing conditions. 2 days later, Jackie Hewitt's father made the heartbreaking discovery of his son's remains beneath a forest bush just 2 miles from the trailer. Investigators reconstructed what they believe happened. The group appears to have followed snowcat tracks through deep snow toward the Forest Service trailer. One by one, exhaustion and freezing temperatures overtook them. 4 men had finally been accounted for, but Gary Mathias, the only one believed to have survived the longest, had vanished without a trace. 5 men entered the mountains that night. 4 were eventually found, but the 5th vanished without leaving a trace. Gary Mathias was 25 years old, an Army veteran, a skilled gardener, and someone who had spent years trying to rebuild his life. By 1978, people close to Gary described him as stable. He followed his treatment, worked regularly, and was building a normal routine. One explanation suggests Gary may have suffered a mental health crisis that night, a moment that changed the group's direction forever. But others question that theory. Earlier that evening, Gary drove normally, watched the basketball game, went shopping with his friends. Nothing suggested he was losing control. The last evidence suggests Gary was alive inside the trailer. At some point, he put on Ted Ware's shoes and walked away into the snow. Because Gary may have left without his medication, investigators searched hospitals and psychiatric facilities across California, hoping someone had seen him. The first possibility, someone else was involved, a theory strongly believed by the families. But after decades of investigation, no physical evidence has confirmed it. The second possibility is far simpler and perhaps more tragic. A wrong turn, a desperate walk for shelter, and a path that led deeper into danger. Over the years, stranger theories appeared, but investigators and researchers agree on one thing: the truth is already mysterious enough. Why did they drive 70 miles away from home? Why leave a working car? Why walk deeper into the mountains? Whose watch was found beside Ted Wire? And where did Gary Mathias disappear? More than 4 decades later, Gary Mathias remains the only missing member of the Yuba County Five. No confirmed remains, no confirmed sighting, only questions. For nearly 5 decades, investigators have searched for answers, but the mystery of the Yuba County Five remains one of America's most haunting unsolved cases. 5 friends left a basketball game, expecting to be home that same night. Instead, they drove nearly 70 miles into the Sierra Nevada. 4 of them never made it back. 1 survived for months, then vanished without a trace. Behind every unanswered question were real families, waiting for someone to come home. Decades later, they're still waiting for the truth. Why did they leave the highway? Why was the trailer never fully used? And what really happened to Gary Mathias? Those questions remain unanswered to this day. What do you think happened to the Yuba County Five? Share your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dive true crime investigations, don't forget to subscribe for the next case.